Special editions of Amazing Conversations with my longtime friend, Darryl Strawberry. Mr. Strawberry, how do you think you're going to feel one day next year? You look up on top of Citi Field, number 18's on the roof.
It's such a great honor, and it would be an historical day, for me and my family, and also for the fans, and all that I was able to accomplish in those 8 seasons playing in Shea Stadium. The memories will last forever. I will always carry those memories with myself forever. They're very personal due to the fact that I always wanted to be successful playing here, and I was, and I take a lot of pride in that. So, when you think about your number being retired, it doesn't get any better than that, Jay. That's true history right there, and what it stands for that it lasts forever.
So it's Dwight will be at some point, but it's you and Keith from the '86 team had the number of retirement. The path hasn't been easy, right?
No, the path of life is not easy at all for anybody. I mean, it's a journey for all of us, and it's just a matter of how do you really perceive the fact that you're going to go through some challenges, through some storms of life, and what kind of person are you after you come out of that? And I think that's what's been important in my life, being the person that I am after having to deal with so much and overcoming so much and adversities, just like playing ball. When you're going through a slump, you go 2 for 30, how do you get out of it? You got to work through that, and hopefully one day you get that hit and it turns around.
I must have interviewed you hundreds of times in 40 years. One that sticks out in my mind was in a Florida penitentiary. I'm sitting there. At that point, did you ever think you would get to this point?
No, I didn't really ever think I would get to any point at that particular time. And thank you for coming to visit me, and you always have
thick and thin. Thick and thin.
You always have been a dear friend, and which is important.
Good in the bad times.
Yeah, and because like I said before, life is a roller coaster ride, and it's just a matter of how do you see yourself. And I always saw myself as a good person, and I just had a lot of things that I had to overcome. A lot of struggles, from the brokenness of who I was. Putting on a baseball uniform does not make you a man; it just makes you a baseball player. And I think people need to recognize that from any athletic standpoint. At some point in your life, you have to become a man. I think we all been through trials and tribulations, and it's been a long road. But I'm glad the road that I'm on, the road to be able to help so many other people, to encourage so many other people.
2006 was a climactic year in your life. You met your wife Tracy, got married, started the Strawberry Ministries right around that time. What is that? What has Tracy meant to your life, Darryl?
She was the angel that I needed in my life. When I was young and wild and crazy, just like everybody else. When I met Tracy, I was struggling, I was broken, and I was hurting, I was lost, and I prayed and asked God that if there's a sign for me, send one to me. And she came into my life, and she brought happiness, and she brought wholeness, and she brought a whole totally different perspective in life for me, which made me really come to a place to have such a wonderful foundation of helping others and giving back.
She told me, I'm probably screwed that she said, I'm a no-compromise woman, and that affected Darryl. Is that true?
That is true, yeah. She was a no-compromise woman, and that really affected me in a good way. It made me realize that that's what I needed in my life, that someone would not compromise, someone that just wasn't going to settle, for anything. And she wanted to settle for the best, and she wanted the best for our children and the best for us as a couple. And it has truly worked out that way, Jay.
And you're on the road now, well over 200 days a year, speaking to churches, schools, hospitals, probably close to 40 or 50 prisons. Tell me about your experiences when you visited the state penitentiary. You went to death row a couple of times, right?
Went to death row, went to some maximum security prisons where a lot of people have a lot of time. That's not getting out. I've seen guys in there with 45 years already that's been locked down. But to be able to go inside there and not be afraid and be able to go in there and love on people and encourage them about faith, I think is more important than just to be going in there and saying, well, look here, I'm Darryl Strawberry. I'm this athlete, that never had
Probably
storms.
none of people of your ilk would go to a prison like that, right? I mean,
Most people wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean-
because they don't see people like that, because most people don't think they had struggles in life. When you live a famous lifestyle, everybody project that you have it all together, and that's not really true. I mean, we're blessed to be able to live the way we live and play sports or whatever lifestyle that you end up in that make you have the ability to live behind community gates, and that doesn't really make you have it all together. And I think a lot of times we perceive that from people when we look from the outside, but the inside is really, it could be hurting. People could be hurting, but they never get help. And I'm just glad I got the help. I'm glad I got the help to get well on the inside, not what I look like from the outside and not what I've achieved. So when I see people, I see people. I see people hurting when I go behind the prison gates, and it's important to me.
you use your story as an example, right? I mean, to them, what you've been through, that keep battling and recovery and addiction, two of your main topics, right?
Just life, what happens to people. We don't know what people go through from their childhood or anything.
Right.
We just can assume that they should be well. Just like everybody felt like that just because they put on a uniform. A uniform doesn't make you well, and I think people have broken pieces inside that needs to be healed. And I went through that process myself. And to sit here today and tell you, yes, I've been healed? Yes. Is my life different? Yes. But it was a process. It wasn't overnight. It was going through the necessary steps that I had to go through to get well on the inside and to forgive my father. The forgiveness of my father.
His abusive father.
Yeah, my father was abusive, and to be able to forgive him was a big step for me because I hated him my whole life and my whole career. And then I would have to go make amends to him one day and ask him to forgive me for keeping him out of my life and my career and not knowing his grandkids. So that was very challenging for me, but I did it. And when I did that, I was relieved of all the pain that I was in forever. And I was able to move forward and go forward and start really being the man that I needed to be, and started having victory in my life, and started to understand the importance of extending someone grace because the grace was extended to me.
So 1980, number one pick in the country, on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And for the first time, you leave California and you experience a little bit of racism. Kingsport.
Not
Lynchburg.
Kingsport. Kingsport was pretty good.
Jackson, Lynchburg.
Lynchburg. Yeah, Lynchburg,
You
Virginia.
had told me you thought of maybe quitting after that year. Right?
I did, and I'm so thankful for Gene Dusan, who was my manager. When I was playing in Lynchburg, and I was hearing a lot of people in the stands were saying a lot of racial things to me and calling me all kinds
You
of
never
names.
experienced that before, right?
No, not coming out of California. So and Gino was good. He directed me not to look up there, not to pay any attention.
Right.
And had I paid attention, I probably would have done something I would have regretted for a very long time in my career.
I would have been seeing something like that.
But it worked out the way it was supposed to work out, and I came close to quitting. Most people don't even know that. And I told the organization I don't think I want to play baseball anymore. I want to go back to college and try to play basketball, and I had a scholarship to go to Oklahoma State, and I was thinking about just giving up baseball. And they asked me to give it one more year and see what I thought about
You
it.
had a great year in Jackson.
I went to Double-A in Jackson, Mississippi, Texas League. I hit 34 home runs, and I stole 45 bases that
That's
year.
not bad.
No, that was pretty.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That was a turning.
Yeah.
That was a real turning point for me, because what happened in that season in Jackson, I really became a baseball player, and I realized that I was going to be able to play at the highest level if I believed in myself, and realizing that criticism was going to be a part of me having to go forward to try to be successful, and I had to face that challenge, and I did. It was a great challenge for me to face, but I did, and I'm glad I faced that challenge.
So you come to the Mets in '83, or May 5th, I think, in 1983. Bad ball club. We're 68 and 94. And Keith comes in June of that year, and he's still managed with all the pressure. I know this before. If your name was Smith, would some of the hullabaloo maybe a little bit less?
Well, I think the problem was I was black, and I was 6'5", and I could run, throw, and hit, and it was just a talent that was there from day one, from my time playing in high school, and being drafted, by the Mets out of Crenshaw High in 1980, and then going to the minor leagues, and that year going to Jackson and putting it all together, and going to Tidewater the next year and staying there a month, and then coming. But when I reflect back on it, I think about when I was in spring training that year, spring training, I played in some games, and I played well, and I faced the challenge, and I think everybody thought I was going to make the team, but Frank Cashin knew I was not going to make the team, and
right.
he didn't want to put that kind of pressure and expectations on me right away, because I think what happened before, you remember Tim Leary?
Yes.
He put him in a situation.
He blew his arm out in Chicago.
Blew his arm out, and I think he was worried about me being a young player and that has to come and play in New York City and
still
play.
got 26 home runs and on a bad team.
And play every day.
Yeah.
But what happened to me that season was Jim Fry.
Yeah, good guy.
Jim Fry got a hold of me, and he made me understand what it was going to take to be a great player. Not just because you had the talent, but you needed to be at the ballpark. You needed to be at the ballpark early. I was supposed to be there at 1, I think, and I didn't come to 3. And I think he got in my face, and he just kind of laid the law down for me. And I'm glad he did, because that made me go forward, and that made me understand it doesn't matter how much talent I have. If you put work in, you're gonna excel at this year after year, and you want to get better and better every year.
A lot of personalities on an 86 team. What made it blend? I mean, to me, Davey was the perfect amount of Davey Johnson. But what made the team blend to get 116 wins that year?
Well, I think the most important thing is you gotta care about representing New York City. That's number one, because you're gonna get a lot of pressure to play here, a lot of expectations, and you have to have a deeper sense of caring and knowing that you're good enough to win. You have to know. I mean, the thing about us is we have a lot of different personalities, but every player on that team knew we can win, and we knew that we can come back from games. We wasn't afraid of the challenge. We wasn't afraid of the expectations. We wasn't afraid of what people were going to say, good, bad, or indifferent. We was going to always make sure that we laid it all out between the lines. Because if you listen to the noise, you're going to be in trouble. And these times are different for players. They have social media and all those different outlets. We didn't have all that, so we didn't have time to be sitting on the phone and looking what comments to be said about us, or tweeting, or this and that. That wasn't part of what it was of us being a baseball player. And I think we knew that the job has to be done on the field. It can't be done between the lines, social medias, and talking back and forth with people. You have to go out there on the field, and you have to perform, and you have to perform as a team. And I think that's what made us very successful, because did we always like each other in-house? No. I can tell you that goes in every sport. Every sport and every team is going to go through that kind of stuff sometime. But that didn't change us of who we represented. Our name on the front was the Mets. We represented the New York Mets.
Speaking of the Mets, you've had really more championships with the Yankees than you do with the Mets. But still, when people think of Darryl Strawberry, probably 99 to 100 people say Met, not Yankees. Why do you think the Mets fans held you in such affection?
Well, because my history is here. I'm a homegrown player. I was drafted number 1, and I came through the farm system, and I got to the major leagues, and I performed. I didn't back down from the expectations. And performance is not always about numbers. People think it's about numbers. You can have the greatest numbers, but are you a big-time player when the game is on the line? And I think that's why fans will always remember me and think about me and Doc and some of the other guys on those teams, because we were big-time players in big games. And that's what makes a difference. That's what separates players of history, guys, when it counts and when the game's on the line. Can you get your ball club over to the other side? And I think that was the difference in what we did back in those days. We were able to get our ball clubs to the other side. Yes, we should have won more championships, but we don't have all the opportunity that the players have today to get into the playoffs and have major opportunities, because we won close to 95 games a year.
They had to walk, and we were in the playoffs every year.
Yeah, they would have to face us every year and had to look at us every year. Because I remember '85, we won 98 games and we went home.
Speaking of '85, one of my favorite home runs, St. Louis. Darling pitched the first 9 innings, 12th inning. You come up. I think it was a tutor. It was a tutor. It was a left-hand. I think
Ken Daly.
Yeah, yes, yeah. You hit the clock way out in right field. That was one of my favorite home runs.
Well, let's just say this: Darling pitched a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
To keep us in that game. That was one of the best games I've ever seen Ronnie pitch. And a situation where we had to play and we had to keep winning.
Right.
And for that night and to be nothing, and Ken Daly hung a breaking ball. You know, the Cardinal fans hated me. I live in St. Louis now, and they always remind me.
Pond scum.
We were a bunch of pond scums. I say we were, but we were good. And they were like, you guys were good, you know, and that's why we hated you guys, because you were really good. So he threw me a hanging breaking ball, and I hit it so hard, and it was just on his way up, and it hit the clock in St. Louis, and it broke the clock. And
how about the roof in Montreal opening day?
That was a good one, you know. Of course.
A good one.
I mean, the umpire Dutch, he didn't even know where the ball went. He's looking up, I'm looking up, I'm cruising into second, and I'm thinking, okay, give me something.
Yeah.
and come to find out, you know, I guess Steve, the trainer, he was pointing, you know, where it hit. He was trying to show Lenny and McReynolds where the ball hit, because I had no idea where the ball had.
You know, the question I get sometimes, I mean, how I am, you know, should Darryl Strawberry be in the Hall of Fame? And I said, maybe not. But I said the work you're doing now is 1,000 times more important than the Hall of Fame. Helping people, helping kids. I mean, it's much more important than a plaque. I mean, you know.
The Hall of Fame is not for everybody, and I just need to make that clear to people. And, you know, had I had a different journey, maybe, yes, of course, I would have been on that journey to be there. I was on my way. But I didn't realize how good of a player I was, and you know, I was a person that was very confused and very broken and very hurting inside from the wounds that I was left with deeply inside because of my father. And the Hall of Fame is for those that's supposed to be in there. But I made a hall of faith in life, you know, a different direction that will be an everlasting thing for me, to do the things that I'm doing, to help the multitude of people that I'm helping, to go to the places I get to go, and to be in front of, you know, presidents and different things, and pastors and leaders of the country, evangelical leaders, real history. I would have never learned that had I probably gotten into the Hall of Fame, because I would still been focused on a baseball career, a life of baseball, and I'm focused on a life, and I think I'm more content now than ever.
June 1st, they'll be retiring number 18, and I'm sure there are going to be fans in the stand yelling, Darryl, Darryl, Darryl in Boston. And you always, that invigorated you, right?
I think everybody thought I was mad, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, they made it like, you know, I was a young kid at that time, you know, but I wasn't mad. I was 24 years old. And here it is, you're playing to win a championship, and we did. We would eventually win that. And when I look back on it and reflect on it, I think, oh my God, you know, I was so young, but everybody thought I was mad. They said, well, what did you think when they were? I said, well, at least everybody knew I was in the ballpark.
That's true.
You know, I mean, what, I'm going to hide, you know, because I'm scuffling and struggling. Baseball is a hard game.
You never ran, Stroy. Never ran.
Never ran from it. I always faced the media. Never ran. I spoke what I thought. But I got to tell you this: at the times of playing here in Queens, where I played at Shea Stadium, I could back up what I talked about, and I think that was the most important thing as a player. You know, and we had a lot of players like that, and that's what I loved about our players. You know, we may have talked a lot, but we would back it up. And that's important, being a baseball player playing in New York. You
know, because I know you so long, one of the things I'll regret when the day is set that your mom, Ruby, won't be there. She was a treasure. I met her, break up. She was a nice lady. Nice lady.
She was a wonderful.
Died way too young, and Tracy would be there, but I'm wishing Ruby would be there to see her to stay.
I know, but she's looking over me because she prayed over my life that I would be well, and not just.
She'd be really proud to.
Not just being a baseball player, but as a man and what I've turned out to be. I think that's more important for my mom, and you know, the memories that I will have on that day of celebrating. The reason why I'm celebrating number 18 being retired is because my mother raised me right. You know, I just made wrong decisions. That's all. And I always hold that in my heart because of what she raised 5 kids by herself, but she raised me right. She didn't raise me to take wrong directions. I took them on my own, and I learned a lot of lessons from those things. But now I'm sitting here today, and I'll be able to celebrate her for being my mother, because what she wanted me to be, I am today.
Well, proud to be your friend.
Same here, Jay.
Thanks.
Always.
Me too, Straw. Thanks for your time, man.